and welcome to this webinar today. We are so happy to see so many of you online. What we'll be talking about today is how you can optimize your implant workflow by going digital with 3Shape implantology solutions. Before I continue, would like a couple of you, if you could just acknowledge in your chat room or chat window that you can hear me, just to be sure before I carry on. Yep, seems like everybody's online. Great, good to hear. So specifically what we'll be talking about today is how 3D printing of surgical guides in-house can enable same-day implant treatment, which can in turn help you to grow your practice. My name is Johanna Carlson. I'm the product marketing manager for implantology here at 3Shape. And with me, I've got Mr. Adam Stoot.
Yeah, and I'm the product manager for implantology, focusing especially on Implant Studio.
Yep. So Adam is going to take us through the implant planning workflow with the 3Shape solutions during this webinar. And he'll also be presenting the business case, some raw examples. That's going to be really exciting to see. Before we get to that, I wanted to give you just a brief introduction to the 3Shape implantology solutions that we have today. So first of all, we are quite confident in saying that we have one of the strongest, if not the strongest, digital implantology ecosystem with 3Shape solutions that we cover today. One of the main benefits of going digital with 3Shape for implantology, as with all other indications, is that we're an open system. So that is definitely a huge advantage for our customers, that you can decide, the workflow that you want to work in and partners you want to work with, machines, printers, and so on that you want to work with. We are open to partner with everybody, basically. So what we'll discuss today is, as I said, the in-house workflow. Of course, being with 3Shape, we also have a very close connection to the lab side of things. That's basically where 3Shape started out, and we continue to have that. So again, if you are interested in doing in-house for some of your cases, that's a possibility. And for other cases, you could go partnering with labs or, for instance, design services. All of that is, of course, an opportunity within 3Shape. But today, the focus is going to be on the in-house workflow. A big part of that workflow is our implant planning and surgical guide design software called 3Shape Implant Studio. And this is what Adam is going to demo a little later on. We call Implant Studio prosthetic-driven implant treatment software, which means that you start your treatment or can start your treatment designing a temporary crown, so that you can base your implant placement on that crown. And that basically is to enable a much more precise result at the end, better fit, function, and aesthetics for the patient. And once you've done your implant placement, you have the option to design your customized surgical guides. And then the next step would be to actually print. And again, we will get into that a little later. So why even go, guided when it comes to implant surgery? Obviously, there are many opinions out there of what to do when. Seen from a patient's perspective, I don't know about you, but from me, I would definitely choose the right-hand side here, if that's an option. Of course, it's not an option for any surgery. There are always, situations where it's not a possibility. But definitely, what we hear from the market, from our dentists that we work closely with, patients are obviously much more inclined to choose the guided surgery when that's possible. Some of the benefits, of course, less pain, shorter healing time, also spending less time in the chair. As you can see here, we've talked to some of our doctors, and some of them saying that just doing the sutures when you're doing a freehand surgery or when you have to raise a flap, it could take up to 15 minutes, whereas for a simpler implant case guided, that's maybe all it takes to do the full surgery. So obviously a lot of time you can save on the surgery part, whereas you spend a little more time planning maybe than what you've done before if you were freehand, but that time is gained plus more when you get into the surgery. And looking at the for the dentist side of things, as we mentioned, much more predictable, being able to, ensure less complications, and also, of course, another benefit that it's fully documented. So if anything goes wrong, you've got everything to show that you've done what you could, at least to come through or get a successful treatment done. So looking at the workflow, this is our workflow with Trios Implant Studio. You start out with the scan. You need a surface scan from Trios or any other intraoral scanner. You also need a CBCT scan. Those two scans are merged in Implant Studio, where you plan your treatment. You can design your surgical guide, and then the last step is, and the newest step in Implant Studio, is that you're able to print or send the guide to the printer directly from within the workflow. And again, Adam will demo that today. So why even do this? As I mentioned before, obviously there's always the possibility to send your guide to a lab to get it produced there, or with a design service partner, or whatever it may be. When we're talking about doing it in-house, there are some obvious benefits in terms of time and cost savings. If you're partnering with a local lab, it might be a day or two before you get the guide. It could be all up to 3 weeks for some guide service providers. So time is, of course, a huge part of this. When you're in-house, it can be less than hours. So you're actually able to have the patient come in the morning, scan them, send them away again to come back in the afternoon. So you've done the planning, you've designed your guide, you printed it, and you can actually do the surgery same day. So huge advantage, of course, in this in-house workflow when you have the opportunity to do that. We see our customers saying that, a lot of them have gone into this workflow now, basically because, it's before Dr. Koll here, he would say that it could take up to 6 weeks to get a guide, and he would pay up to 600 euros for it, for a full arch guide. So it didn't really make much sense to him to do it guided. But now he's jumped into it in a big way, doing almost every of his surgery guided, because it doesn't take very long and the material cost, of course, is low. So with that being said, just my brief intro to what we're going to be talking about today. Now on to the good stuff with Adam.
Demo time.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I will do here is I will take you through a fairly simple case in Implant Studio. In this case, we have the first molar in the maxilla, where the patient is in need of an implant. And what we have selected here is a virtual crown, we call it. So a crown, so we can take the like Johannes said, the prosthetic into account along with the clinical information. And we've chosen, we want implant and we want a guided surgery. Now I will warn you in advance. I am not a doctor by training, so some of you may get a quick laugh from my implant placement, but maybe I will even get through this okay, and then you can see that it's actually really easy to use. So in this step here on this computer, I do not have a Trios connected, so I am sent directly to a scan import step. Did I have a Trios connected to this computer, I could scan the patient directly here. So the software adapts to that situation. So here instead, I have imported my surface scan. We see the patient here is in need of an implant. He may also be in need of other treatments, but we'll do that some other day. And we have imported the antagonist, which will make it easier for us to design our virtual crown. And we have also imported our CBCT scan. This is not from an X1. This is from another scanner. And this is you could say a typical bad case. We can see the patient has plenty of metal in his mouth, and that also resembles it's seen in the CBCT scan, where we see a lot of scatter. So we've not made it easy for ourselves here, but we will see that it works okay. So we have our scans, and the next step is that we can design our virtual crown. Now, we are focusing in this webinar here on the implant planning part. So I have cheated a little bit here and done some few design operations already. So I have a base idea of how my crown should look like. So this is basically just taking us through these simple steps. But I do in this step have a lot of tools to help me. I'm able to copy the other tooth. I do have virtual wax knives. I can adjust the contacts to the neighbors and so on. So I have a lot of tools to help me, and it is quite intuitive to go through. Now, when I'm satisfied with my virtual crown, say this is something like this I want to end up with, then I will continue to the next step, which is what we call the CT preparation module. And what we do in here is we take our surface scan and we combine it with our CBCT scan. So what we can do here is we can adjust the area we want to look at. So we are only interested in the maxilla in this case. We could, in principle, have the whole scan, but it would just obstruct our view. So this is what we will do. Now, the next step is to define a panoramic curve. And the software actually does this automatically for you. It automatically places a plane up here in the 3D view, and based on this, it draws a curve, and this is what generates this image from. So in most cases, this gives a nice overview without having to do any user input at all. So I'm satisfied enough with this. I will continue. The next step here is also where the software helps you out. So the software has by itself given a suggestion to the alignment between the CBCT scan and the surface scan. So we see them here on top of each other. We also see some colors on it, and it indicates how well it is aligned. So green color means that it's very well aligned, so within 250 microns in this case. And that is approximately what you can expect maybe from a CBCT scan. And we also see some areas with some other colors, and that is actually due to all this scatter because the patient has plenty of metal in his mouth. We will confirm the alignment because we are satisfied with the alignment in this case here. And now we can go into the more clinically interesting part and place an implant. So what we will do here is we will take a single implant, and we will do a bone level implant. We do have a lot of different options here. So in this case, I'm going for a Straumann implant, but we have around 70 different implant manufacturers, so we can cater for your needs. Now, we also have the different lines here, and I'm just going for bone level, and I'm going for regular connector, and I will start out with a 10mm implant here. So what we can see is the software has placed the implant directly underneath our virtual crown. So this is not a good clinical placement, but it's a good place to start. So what we will have to do now is that we will adjust the placement of the implant so it's situated well in the bone. We can actually increase the contrast here and make it a little easier to see. So something like this. What I do is I start by doing a rough placement of the implant from perpendicular directions. Like this, but of course there are many ways of doing it and many ways you can choose to work depending on your preferences. So I can rotate around and I can see if I am in contact with anything I shouldn't be. It doesn't look like it. So I will place it like this, and I will just take the sleeve out. Now we will see that that all is good. And the last thing we can do is we can check that we have our drill direction. It penetrates the surface of our virtual crown in a place where we can close it off nicely when we're done. So we are happy with this. We will then make a surgical guide. And the way we will do this is simply by either drawing a line or clicking points. So I can do any combination thereof as I want to. I will do 2 of these splines, one on each side of the implant placement, and it has the advantage that I can easily make a little space for irrigation underneath here. The software by itself builds the guide on top, so that is basically what I need to do. Now I do have some options here that I can insert viewing windows to ensure that the guide is properly seated. So I will just do this, and I can insert support bars for improved stability, and I can insert ID tags. Now, in this case, I think I will just continue because we have shown the concept here. So I will not place an ID tag. We only have this one patient in this case, and we don't need to print a lot of guides together. We now go to the approval step, and what we'll see here is the documentation Johanna talked about. So we do get a surgical report where we can see what we are working on, and we see our clinical placement. We also see some information down here on the bone density. We could also have seen it during the planning, and it looks extremely low here, and that is because it's not a calibrated CBCT scanner. That's another advantage of having a calibrated scanner. If we say this is what we want, we can approve the planning, and we will see on the workflow that we lock down the parts that has to do with the planning itself. So now they are locked for this case. So we cannot by a mistake go in and change it. And I will do the same with the surgical guide. Now, when I continue, I will first go to our export step, and what I will do here is that it will export my reports, so I have them saved on the computer in PDF format. So I have them here, and I also have the surgical guide should I need it later on. Now, in this case, we are going for completely integrated printing, and in this case, it's with a Formlabs printer. So there is an extra step in the workflow, and that is where we are able to print our job directly from the workflow. So we see 3 empty jobs here, and we can either add to an existing job that was created, or we can create a new job. I'll just create a new job here. And what will happen when I create a new job is that the surgical guide will be automatically placed on the print bed or the print surface. The software will then intelligently build support pins for the guide, and it will orient it so all the supports are attached to the outside of the guide, so it will not affect the contact to the teeth, the fitting around the teeth, and also it will intelligently avoid placing any support pins near the sleeve hole. So you will also get a good fit of the sleeve, and combine this with our settings values, you can get a really good fit. We do have some tools if you should wish to place the guide in another position on the print bed or change the supports, but otherwise it is simply clicking the produce button. Now in the case of the Formlabs Form 2 printer, this will open up Preform, and you can from there just click print. If we had instead taken a Rapid Shape printer, we would go into direct printing, and the Rapid Shape printer will be added very soon over there. to all you guys. So we will, in a second, we will just see a preform opening up, and we will be able to print. So this is it. This is how easy it is. And if I had a printer here, I could just click upload job, and we were off to go with our guide printed within hours on a Form 2 printer or sub hours on a formless printer. All right, that was a little quick demonstration of the software, and I will jump back to the presentation. So
that was really cool. I just have one question. So you're saying, so this version that we're looking at now, where you can send the print directly to the printer, is coming out when to end users?
Well, the good news is that it is out to end users, but it is for existing users. It is slowly being rolled out. So you will receive it within the next month. The first have already received it. So yeah, if you are really impatient, then you can contact your reseller, and they can help you out. They have access to the installer now, but otherwise we will take care of you automatically within the next month, where we will be upgrading all our customers in the areas where Implant Studio 2017 has registry approval.
Right. We have a question here about Mexico, for instance, where they're unfortunately still waiting for the 2017 version. We're working on regulatory approval for that. Don't specifically have a timeline for it, but
no, sorry about that.
Yeah. That we are working hard. Our regulatory department is working hard on getting all these approvals done.
Yeah. So what you will experience in some of these countries where we do not have 2017 approval yet is you will see an upgrade to our case management software very soon. And then as soon as we get the registry approval, you will get the software offered with the Implant Studio inside as well.
So there'll be some updates, new features, or what do you call it, improvements and so on
you can
the
say,
rest of the workflow.
Yes, exactly. You can say that you will still get the newest platform, and that means that all the products we have registered in these countries, they will be able to run and take advantage of the newest case management, for instance. All right. So I hope you thought this was easy. So now we can talk of if it's not only easy but maybe also good business. Let's see. So if we take the analog way, and this is an example from Sweden. Of course, there's a lot of regional differences, but if we take some numbers from Sweden, and these include the overhead of a dentist, and it includes the material cost of the different steps and the number of steps you would normally have in Sweden for a freehand surgery session where you want to restore with a temporary or permanent tooth afterwards. Then you would have 8 visits and a total of around 1,100 euros and 3 hours and 45 minutes spent. If you go the digital way, you have fewer visits and you spend less on materials. So let's try to break this down in how it can actually be done. So for this, we are looking at 3 different cases. We look at using your trias for implant scanning. That is not the main theme of today, but it's very, very relevant for these implant cases. We will look at the guided surgery, and then we will look at, okay, well, you have your trias, you have your Implant Studio, why not do both? So first we look at our implant impression or scanning of these the implant position after surgery. And here there's a huge saving, and also you don't have to go out and use these quite time-consuming materials to do for implant impressions. Also, in many countries, and that depends on legislation in your country, but in many countries you can actually get your assistant to do this as well. So there's a huge saving on time especially, but also on material by doing your implant scanning digitally. Now, if we say that you buy, now we're just taking a Trias Mono with an example of a cost of ownership over 5 years. and let's say that you're doing 2 implant cases a week where you're scanning, well, then after 1 year, you would have paid off almost half of your trias. After 2 years, well, it's 25th of the trias paid off, so practically full trias. And thereafter, you will just see extra revenue. But this is if you only use the trias for this, and we can think of many other ways you can use your trias.
Yes.
So if we look at the other part, the surgery, and that's really what it's about today with Implant Studio, then we can maybe cut down 5 steps to 2 steps or 2 visits by the patient. And that is around 360 euros of time and material, so more substantial. But here we can say, okay, you have invested in trias, you have invested in Implant Studio, so you probably want to go for the full deal in a digital workflow and save around 500 euros and 1.5 hour of time. So if we try to do the same exercise as before, well, let's see what happens after 1 year. You have paid off your trias and maybe half of the move that you have always wanted to have in your clinic for superior patient engagement and excitement, and for your own economics. And after 2 years, well, you have paid off your move. You have nearly paid off your third trias as well. And that is, again, only looking at 2 cases a week and not using these for anything else. Of course, with the cool new move you have in your clinic, you will be using it for a lot of other stuff. All right. So so these are the scenarios, and I would have to say from this that you don't have to do very many implant cases before it's also good business.
So really strong ROI cases when it comes to going digital for implant cases with 3Shape solutions. Thank you for that, Adam. That was really interesting to see. If you have any questions for us around this, feel free to ask them as we go along. I just have a couple of slides left. Finishing remarks around the ecosystem. It really is, as you can see with what Adam showed us, a strong enabler in terms of growing your practice. And one of the treatment areas or indications where you can really benefit from going digital is definitely when you do implant cases. So we hope this has intrigued your interest. And last but not least, I just wanted to revert your attention also to our 3Shape community. In case you're not aware, we have a community, online community, where you can log in with your 3Shape ID, which you have if you're a 3Shape customer. So it's part of the package you get when you sign up for with 3Shape or buy our products. And in here you have a range of a lot of interesting stuff that you can take advantage of. We have a forum, you can talk to your peers, you know, discuss cases, ask questions. We have a huge knowledge center of training material, videos, and so on. Inspiration from dentists around the world, and of course some look into events and exhibitions where you can meet us. We are currently, for instance, working on some best practice guides for this workflow you saw today, for example, but other workflows as well within implantology, and they are going to be available on the 3Shape community soon. So really good place for you guys to go if you're a customer already and get inspiration and learn more about our solutions.
Both the feedback from us, but also from each other. So you don't have to look at a non-doctor trying to place an implant like like you had to do before. So sorry about that.
Yeah.
All right.
So that was actually it from us today. We hope it was beneficial for you to see and that you're interested in this workflow. Always welcome any questions. Also, of course, you can direct them to your 3Shape rep in your local markets or or any of our resellers, basically. And I'm just looking if there's coming any questions, but we'll be online for a couple of minutes. If there was any questions, I think we answered what came in during our talk.
Yeah. And otherwise, we just want to thank you for tuning in and hope you can see the benefits of going digital with 3Shape, or continue being digital with 3Shape, as might also be the case with many of you.
Yep. So thank you for today. Thanks for joining. Bye bye.
Bye bye.